From the streets of Monaco to Spa-Francorchamps, Formula One comes to the Belgian Grand Prix for round 5 of the 2023 season. And right from the get-go, it was apparent Red Bull and Porsche meant business on Friday. Porsche, at the request by Red Bull, have fast-tracked their upgrades and have deployed new engine updates for both their teams. Giovinazzi has enjoyed a new lease of life so far this season as the leading Red Bull in the standings, and said he hopes the new upgrades will help place him firmly into the championship fight. On the other side of the garage, though, Gasly looked a skeptical figure in the paddock, and who can blame him after losing so many potential great point-scoring positions due to issues out of his control. Pascal Wehrlein was feeling positive and praised his new team on its start in Formula One and feels he is driving better than ever before. But the German said they had to be wary of BMW in their midfield fight. After a rather tough time in Monaco, they too have brought upgrades of their own to Spa. Finally, both McLaren and Ferrari confirmed they're expecting major updates at Monza, but have made minor improvements this weekend. McLaren think their consistency so far has been far more important than regular but potentially unreliable updates, and Ricciardo leading the championship is a testament to just that. For Ferrari, and especially Verstappen, however, the pressure keeps on mounting. Despite the potential in Monaco before his crash, the end result was still 0 points, and the Italian press expect big things from him and the team soon, or risk the season being labeled a write-off. Spa invites plenty of slipstreaming and overtaking opportunities, so there's no doubt the race will be exciting. But first, let's see how the drivers got on in qualifying. As Q3 in the Ardennes Forest came to a close, it was the Frenchman Pierre Gasly who was quickest, hot off the heels of Red Bull's first podium in 2023. He's joined on the front row by the Audi of Carlos Sainz, just a tenth between them, and in a 98-second long lap no less. The improved engine in the back of Antonio Giovinazzi's car was enough to ensure both Red Bulls will line up from the top 3, while Stoffel Vandoorne in the Jaguar completes the second row for his home race. Row 3 features the two current championship leaders, with Ricciardo's McLaren occupying the 5th position, and back-to-back race winner Charles Leclerc put his Mercedes in 6th. Sergio Perez was thrilled to make Q3 for the first time this season in his BMW, never mind going 7th quickest, and less than 5 tenths off the pole time. He's joined on row 4 by the leading Porsche of Wehrlein. And rounding out the top 10, it's the McLaren of Aarava and the Mercedes of George Russell, both drivers starting 4 positions behind their teammates, and both drivers ones to watch early in the race. Mick Schumacher will start from P11 as the leading Ferrari for today's Belgian Grand Prix. He's joined on row 6 by the second BMW of Jack Aitken, who was only 16 thousandths slower in Q2. Sebastian Vettel will start from way down in 13th in his Audi alongside the second Porsche of Norris, both drivers starting way behind their teammates and with lots of traffic between them and a good result. Max Verstappen did manage to get his Ferrari into Q2, but was slowest at the end of the session. He's joined by Alexander Albon, who once again struggled for one lap pace and starts well behind his teammate. And bringing up the rear again, it's the Renaults and Astons, with Christian Lundgaard ahead of Jamie Chadwick on row 9, and Ilott ahead of Ocon on row 10. All 4 cars more than 2.5 tenths off the rest of the field, and more than 1.1 seconds slower than Pierre Gasly.
Hey, what's up guys, aarava here, and welcome back to the episode of my F1 MyDriver Career Mode Season 9 for round number 5 today at the Belgian Grand Prix. If you guys did miss the previous round at the Monaco GP, then be sure to go check that one out. A Monaco night race, no less, and a very exciting one indeed. And it's shaked up the entire championship and potentially how things are looking. Maybe Mercedes on the bounce and resurgence, and we've also got, some other drivers looking to pick up the slack, mainly 2 of them being the 2 Red Bull drivers, but Antonio Giovinazzi in 3rd place being the lead Red Bull driver, and Pierre Gasly today on pole position. But can they actually convert it to their first win of this season, or will that man in 2nd place, Carlos Sainz on the front row, take it away? Can we do something? We've yet to win a Grand Prix this season. Our teammate has won 1 Grand Prix and actually leads the championship. So Ricciardo, to be fair to him, he's done a stonking job being so consistent. I feel like I've been consistent myself, but he's been getting those kind of higher positions, so we still have some work to do to try and take the fight to our teammate and try and announce ourselves fully in the championship, but I'm not also too disappointed of where we are in the standings, saying that as well, obviously compared to the likes of Verstappen, who are yet to score a single point in this season, even though he was looking pretty good at Monaco in his new Ferrari car last time. Obviously had a crash midway through the race, so he'll want to bounce back and try and finally get on the board maybe at this GP. I think this one is going to be a really hectic one in terms of the slipstream capabilities down this back straight, also on the Kemmel straight, so I expect plenty of great racing. But for us, I don't know, it seems like we lost a little bit of pace maybe in qualifying, at least to some other cars, but hopefully the race pace is there. Tyre wear will be a factor, but maybe not as much as it was at the Monaco Grand Prix. But even though this championship is technically nearly halfway through, it's still early days in my mind. The championship will probably go down all the way to the wire, knowing F1 MyDriver, so it's all about being as consistent as we can. And so with that, it's time to go racing once again in 2023 as we go to 5 red lights to the Belgian Grand Prix from P9 on the grid. Lights are out and we're underway. Slow start there from Sergio Perez. Can we make a move into turn 1? Carlos Sainz fancies it on the outside for first place of this Grand Prix. There, it's nearly 3 wide between the 2 Red Bulls. We made some contact, that was, with Mick Schumacher, I think that was. There's a bit of a front wing end plate fell off there, but it's Gasly that leads the way. But look at that, Sainz round the outside. What a move up the hill, and the Spaniard leads then in the Audi. But will Gasly come back? Meanwhile, back at our POV, we're still P9, catching up to Pascal Wehrlein now, our old teammate from seasons 2 and 3 in the Merc days so long ago. But he cuts across us, unfortunately. I tried to make a move, but we actually got very close to actually coming into contact with him. But he loses the back end, and there we go. We've mugged him off there on the right-hand side, and we're up into P8. Meanwhile, Sainz has been re-overtaken by Gasly then, so the Frenchman does lead the way once more. But Giovinazzi now is hounding the Audi man, so he's trying to make it a 1-2 for Red Bull. Obviously, like we mentioned, it's been well documented so far. The Red Bull team as a whole have gone so unlucky so far this season, and Giovinazzi can't quite make that, so he has to settle down for 3rd place. Meanwhile, we're kind of almost doing what he's trying to do and go around the outside, and we actually do finish off the move on Sergio Perez, so up into P7, so we're definitely starting very, very quick here, eager to get those positions we didn't obviously get in qualifying, as Ricciardo out-qualified us by 2 or 3 positions, was it? And so I felt like we had more time to gain, so we have, and now we're right at the back of Stoffel Van Dorn, and then ahead of him is Dan Ricciardo, so 2 names I'm very familiar with. But then you've got Charles Leclerc doing a great job for a 3rd race in a row maybe in the Mercedes car, maybe not quite the same as the last 2 races, as the Mercedes car probably doesn't suit this circuit as much as it did at Monaco, and you can clearly see the battle for the lead is all about a Red Bull versus Carlos Sainz, either Giovinazzi or Gasly at the moment. Gasly staying put in 1st place, but look at that, the power of the Audi down the inside there. Sainz trying to retake the lead. They're side by side on the exit. The Red Bull has the better line though, so surely he'll get that. But on the run towards Rouge, will the Spaniard have the guts to go for it again? No, Gasly actually just subtly blocks him off there as we now ride on board with Giovinazzi close behind. Maybe he's going to make a move and make it a 1-2 for Red Bull. Also Leclerc though not hanging about and using the slipstream to good effect to pull him along, and so the 4 are so close together. The 2 Red Bulls are now side by side. It's nearly 3 wide for the lead, that is, as we go back to our POV, because we've got some fighting ahead of our own between Ricciardo and Van Dorn. Can I get stuck in and try and overtake one of these other Jaguar powered cars as we try to thread it through on the right hand side? It doesn't work, and actually out of nowhere, look at that, Perez comes out of nowhere with a surprise little move on the right, so have to go defensive on him whilst also going attacking on Van Dorn. So it's all jumbling up here, but at the moment it looks like just ahead of us Sainz has actually got the lead, and it's now Red Bull 2-3 there, so he's done a great job of actually getting a bit of a break as well from the Red Bull guys on the minimap I can see. And ahead of us, look at this, 3 wide as Ricciardo tries to send one to the inside between the fighting Mercedes and I think that's Gasly's Red Bull car, just ahead of Leclerc. I believe Giovinazzi is the one in 2nd place as he found himself around the outside at the end of the Kemmel straight there, so the Italian once again surprisingly being the lead man in the Red Bull car, despite qualifying worse than his, I guess, more senior teammate Gasly. But look at this now, Perez on the outside of Blanchimont, very fine margins, massive wobble at 200 miles per hour. We go defensive, but Perez is a man possessed as he dives down the inside of me, Van Dorn, and even tried to get Ricciardo a little bit there. He's actually on the back of Ricciardo, and instead I'm fighting Van Dorn, so I don't know what on earth is possessed Perez today. Maybe those BMW upgrades really paying him confidence, I guess, in the car, as now Wehrlein also tries to get down my inside. And behind him is Sebastian Vettel, recovering well so far in this Grand Prix, but it's still a lot of work to do to catch up to his teammate who leads the way. But it's all so frantic. 3 laps gone, and there's hardly been any kind of respite here, as myself in P8, Van Dorn P7, Perez ahead of him. Can we try and get a double toe to maybe make an overtake? We're going to have some space on the left there. Van Dorn caught up behind Perez. We're going to make a late lunge on the outside. We're going to get Van Dorn on the exit. Can't get Perez. It's a massive tank slapper for us as the tyres scream out a little bit on the exit. And now Van Dorn is side by side with Wehrlein, the home favourite in the Jaguar versus Wehrlein in the Porsche, with upgrades this weekend, of course. And so the Porsches did qualify better. We'll see how the race pace is. But Van Dorn goes the long way round. Can he keep it in? He's got his foot still down. And Vettel might join in. And oh no, 3 wide into Pouon. Absolutely amazing. That would have been absolutely scenes if that actually occurred. But Vettel probably thought better of it there, because I was wincing in my eyes a little bit, because if they tried to make that probably definitely wouldn't have ended in any kind of good way. And so thankfully Vettel did stick behind, but you can see the German is determined to recover in this Grand Prix. You know, he's obviously getting old a little bit in his old age in 2023. Maybe doesn't qualify as well, but you can clearly see he's got the race pace and the race pedigree for it, as it were, as we now try and close up to Sergio Perez. Up ahead, you saw that was Sainz versus Giovinazzi for the race lead, so there may be a change for the lead, but we're sticking with this fight more importantly, because this is going on for the entirety of Sector 3. Gasly versus Ricciardo for third place, and close behind is Leclerc, as we now try and get a bit of a switch back going behind on Sergio Perez. Can we make a move into turn 1? He goes defensive or attacking, depending on how you want to kind of look at it there, but you can see Gasly still neck and neck with Ricciardo, and we get the move done on the Mexican. So we're up 1 position. Can we maybe get another towards Rouge? No, instead it's Ricciardo v Gasly up the hill. Fantastic stuff. Look how close it is there between all 4 of us, 5 of us even, as we go down the Kemmel Straight. You can literally throw a blanket over all 5 of us there. It's nearly 4 wide, and we're literally ping-ponging around trying to find the space to keep this going, as we're now side by side with Ricciardo. Massive tank slapper because the rear end gets loose. Leclerc is up into P3 now, opportunistic there. Ricciardo squeezed out by Gasly and myself. Can we try and follow Gasly through down this right-hander? Such off-camber corner here, and a bit of contact made with Ricciardo. Get the elbows out. No love lost between myself and my new teammate for this season. We always had a great battle at Silverstone for round number 2. Ever since then, we haven't quite been able to match him in terms of the points he's been collecting there, so maybe a little bit personal there, trying to push him out of the way and make sure that we're the leader McLaren in this Grand Prix. Meanwhile, though, ahead, Leclerc gets away in P3, then Giovinazzi in P2, chasing after Carlos Sainz, who's got a commanding lead at this stage in terms of MyDriver terms. I know that gap doesn't look too crazy, but in MyDriver terms, that's pretty damn huge. The gap that's not as big, though, is the gap from P4 to 3. Gasly chasing after Leclerc, then he'll definitely try and make a move probably into the bus stop chicane, or maybe even earlier into Blanchimont. No, just going to close up to the Monegascan in the German car. Can he make the move on the outside? This will be, he'll turn to the inside, of course, for the next left-hander as they go through the bus stop chicane. He'll try and force Leclerc wide, but Leclerc keeps his foot in on the right-hand side, and so those two side by side. Meanwhile, behind us, we're closing up as best we can and trying to pull ourselves in with the DRS, which obviously is now activated, having gone past lap number 3. You can see Ricciardo just ahead of Perez, and then Van Dorn. These two still going at it, and they will go at it up the hill. Then Gasly on the left, Leclerc on the right. It's going to be very fine. Leclerc gets his foot out the throttle pedal to avoid contact there, and that actually invites us in, because look how much we've closed up there on that straight, and look how much we're gaining now on the Kemmel Straight. Here we go, slingshot round the outside of Gasly, maybe even Leclerc for the double overtake, as we're now neck and neck with Leclerc on the left, the long way around through this next right hand to get the power down, and yes, we made the move. What a fantastic overtake, and we're up into P3 now of this GP. So we qualified down in P9. We're now running in a podium position. Like I said, the race pace I felt like was going to be better. For some reason around qualifying over 1 lap, I just wasn't too quick around here, but as now we're 3 wide to the bus stop, we're going to come in early for lap number 5 for the pit stop here, because these soft tyres are wearing out quite quickly. Now, I'm not sure if it's a 2-stop like the sake of Monaco, so this could be a 1-stop, and me just compromising myself a little bit at the end of the Grand Prix, because of course the tyre wear is still going to be high on the medium tyres, as the tyres have been this entire season, but I'm just compromising myself a little bit because these softs are going to wear out so much more than the mediums ever could at the end of the race. So I feel like personally I can gain quite a lot of time with an undercut, like I have done a few times this season so far, and whilst I do that, these guys are fighting, so he cut straight on as I exited down the pit lane. You can see these guys are still squabbling for P3, all the way down to, what's that, you know, P6 or 7 there, as it's 3 wide between Leclerc, Ricciardo, Van Dorn. Look at that lovely aerial shot. Ricciardo going the long way round, but Leclerc in the middle is the one that benefits. But then look at Van Dorn go, staking through to the inside, bit of contact made, and then also look behind them is Vettel going around the outside of Sergio Perez. I think that is it? Down the inside. He'll just get it. Verline ahead of them, but it's all kicking off in this fight, and this is exactly what I wanted to avoid. You know, I'm not in this fight. I'm in clean air, so these guys are losing each other time. I'm just, you know, on my ones, basically just trying to do the best job I can, racing to the stop clock, as it were, and these guys are going hammer and tong as Van Dorn gets the better of Leclerc and Ricciardo in that battle so far for what is around, I think, P5 or 6. It's hard to tell, to be honest, because there's so many cars involved in all these battles already, and we have no way of having a nice time ladder, as it were. But now look at that, Vettel on the right-hand side, 3 wide for those guys, and Vettel going the long way round through Blanchimont. Oh, no, don't tell me, 3 wide through Blanchimont. Absolutely amazing stuff. Absolutely amazing. I don't know how they made it work. I don't know how this man has made the double overtake, but he has. Sebastian Vettel up into P6. They're still battling so hard now for P7. It is now Porsche v BMW, the two kind of midfield cars battling away. The Porsche with upgrades, but the BMW equally also has its own upgrades, and Jack Aitken doing a decent job to get down the inside. We've not seen too much of him in the series so far, but doing a great job versus Verline there, as they're side by side still through to Rouge, but Jack Aitken will get that, and just behind them are the 2 Mercedes cars, I think swapping positions, or no, Leclerc stayed ahead of Russell for now, but Leclerc's kind of gone backwards in this Grand Prix. Meanwhile, look at this, nearly 3 wide as Vettel has closed right up, and he gets it to the inside of Ricciardo, and he's going to make the double pass. Yes, he's going to finish the move on the outside to the inside for the next corner, and that's Vettel up 2 more positions. This will be up into P4 of the Belgian Grand Prix. Vettel, like I said, you know, he may not have it in qualifying these days, but he's certainly still got the racecraft in. He's got the car for it, and he's surging through the field. That's more like it. That's the Sebastian Vettel we know from MyDriver Season 4, where he won that championship. Ahead of him, still Gasly chasing after Giovinazzi, and then Carlos Sainz in first place, still with that gap. We're going to move back to our POV, though, as we're going to close up then to the pack eventually, lap number 8. So this, remember, it's been 3 laps since I've been on these tyres, and now we've caught up to these guys, having yet made a pit stop in this Grand Prix. So showing the pace difference, one between the McLaren, I guess, and the Aston Martin cars, but also these guys are facing tyre wear as well, especially Chadwick there on the soft tyre, maybe less so Ocon up ahead of us on the mediums, but we've closed up quite a lot, and I can already tell we've gained time with this undercut, so I'm confident we'll come out towards still that same podium fight we were in. But right now our biggest challenge is getting past these 2 Renaults and the other Aston Martin. Callum Ilott, we're getting boxed in on the left hand side there, as you can see. Lundgaard side by side with Ocon. We're down the inside of Ilott, so we'll get 1 more position there, but the 2 Renaults having a great scrap, and so if they're fighting so hard, they may not kind of see me coming, so maybe can we try and pick them up whilst they're napping potentially into turn 1. Nice and easy, try and get a tight line in turn 1, get a great exit, and pretty much switch back Ocon, not on purpose there, but we've got him up into P11 as some people start to make their pit stops. We catch up to Lundgaard and through a Rouge, up the hill then, and we're up into P10. Fantastic little overtake there on the rookie, making his debut this season for Renault though, but he's actually scored the most points out of the Renault team actually, so kudos to him. So we make that move, we're up into P10, and so later on that same lap, Giovinazzi then is going to be in for his pit stop. Sainz has already made his pit stop, by the way, so he's gone 1 lap earlier than Giovinazzi, so let's see how the undercut worked. Remember, Sainz was the one that led, and oh my word, into the pit lane, Aitken, and okay, that's a bit worrying, but Norris was side by side with Aitken into the pit lane. They were going to have a horrendous crash, but thankfully this being a game, that sorted itself out. Otherwise, if that was real life, that would have been absolutely spectacular. But here we go then. Here is Carlos Sainz. Where on earth is Giovinazzi going to place out? There he is! Oh, Giovinazzi's jumped him. How's he done that? The Red Bull team have had an absolute masterstroke. The overcut strategy has worked out for the Italian and the Austrian outfit, and so Giovinazzi effectively leads the way. He's second on the road. There is Verstappen in the Ferrari that leads Grand Prix for the first time this year, but not for too long, as Giovinazzi takes the race lead back. Sainz down the inside as well. The 2 former Toro Rosso teammates now go side by side, but Verstappen, he's out there yet to make a pit stop, so his tyres are completely going off, and so he's just left to go down to P3 very easily and comes into the pit lane eventually as well, you can see on the right hand side. So we're up into P3 comfortably, I might add. So the undercut has worked out really well for us, and we're a lot closer to Sainz than we were before. So it's not just a case of we stayed ahead in P3, we closed up to these 2 now, having an absolute scrap and a half as Sainz gets back up into first place. But the thing is, you know, Sainz has the pace in sector Sector 1. In Sector 3, I would say just about, but Giovinazzi in the Red Bull definitely has the better car in Sector 2. So these guys are quite equally matched. And so whilst they're fighting so hard, we're just going to try and close up as slowly as we can in P3. Meanwhile, the battle for P4 is Sergio Perez versus Gasly. So Perez has also done a madness there. He's jumped Gasly and also Sebastian Vettel, remember. So once again, the Mexican doing a real stunning job in the BMW. You know, the BMW hasn't seemed like a top midfield car or top car, really. But Perez, on numerous occasions this season, has just been there and just done a madness with the strategy and just in the car and the cockpit. So kudos to him. So behind them two is Sebastian Vettel. Then you've got Ricciardo and Van Dorn, the two guys who pretty much are glued to the hip at this stage at the MyDriver Career Mode Series in Season 9. These two battling so much. And then behind them is a battle between the other BMW, Jack Aitken versus Verline Leclerc, the other Porsche, I think, of Lando Norris there also in the mix, and also George Russell. And then Verstappen is just trying to close up to that train, but he's got Albon for company behind them, behind him. So those two maybe in their own battle, their own for the wooden spoon, I guess, just outside the top 12 points paying positions. And those two actually go side by side. Albon on the outside. Obviously, we know how quick the Jaguar is in the hands of Van Dorn. Albon's still getting used to his car. I guess it's his debut season, remember, in the F1 series. So he's still getting to grips with it, and he's sort of kind of yo-yoing in his kind of performance, I guess, so far this season. But those two are still neck and neck into the bus stop chicane. Whilst meanwhile, Leclerc tries to overtake Jack Aitken in the BMW up ahead, and behind him is Verline and his teammate George Russell. And then ahead of them, these two, like I said, joined to the hip and side by side up the hill, and that's a great shot there. And they're still pretty much level pegging, literally tyre wall to tyre wall up the entirety of that hill and down the Kemmel Straight. The Jaguar, the McLaren Jaguar and the Jaguar Works team there, very equalised, it would seem, in the hands of Van Dorn and Ricciardo, as we now move back to this fight between Gasly and Perez. Gasly pressurising Perez, but no kind of inroads made yet. And then myself back to our fight for the top three, no less. This is the podium, remember, and the race lead is in the hands of Giovinazzi, just ahead of Sainz, who's going to make a move, maybe. So maybe the right time to cut back to this fight here. No, Sainz tries it, but look at that. Look how much we've closed up there. That's a great camera angle to illustrate how much we're gaining every corner, because Sainz is making Giovinazzi drive a little bit more defensively, and that's the slower racing line. And so we're just gaining every single corner, as those two now are going to go side by side for the race lead yet again, and Sainz will now get up into the lead, but we are just gaining every single bit of the way. And so we're going to soon come into play and hopefully get into this fight for first place and maybe go for our first race win this season. Remember, it's obviously early days, still 5 races gone, but I'd still love to try and get a race win, you know, under my belt sooner rather than later. I have left it historically quite late in some seasons to get my first win of this season. I think I remember back to, I think it was season 4 or 5, I got my first race win of the season in the penultimate race to get back into the championship fight. So it's happened before, but I'd rather it happen earlier, like I just said. And we're going to close up to Giovinazzi as we go through Eau Rouge, up the hill, and then we're going to gain with DRS as well. So let's watch on. We might just get a cheeky double toe as Giovinazzi is going to go to the right-hand side and try and take the race lead. We get a nice slipstream off Sainz. We're going to go on the outside. Can't quite find the speed to make a move on both of them, but we will get the job done on the Spaniard, and we're up into P2. And now on the next lap, we'll have an opportunity to maybe get Giovinazzi, as he's very slow to turn one with a lock-up there, so effectively brake checked us, but now get a good exit. He's got a slow one with that lock-up, and so here we go on the left-hand side. We're going to be side by side through Eau Rouge, up the hill through Radion, and then to the Kemmel Straight. It's so close on the right. It's great racing. It never gets old going up that hill side by side with an F1 car, and Sainz also in the mix, but he's kind of caught up in a box between myself and Giovinazzi. We're trying to kind of push Gio to the right-hand side to try and tighten up his corner and open the corner up for ourselves, but we're still now having to battle through on the right-hand side. But he's got the traction and he's got the better line on the right-hand side. We get a good acceleration, but he's got the better line, and so we have to kind of cut in and lock ourselves up on the right-hand side to try and just get the better racing line and tighten up a little bit. But you can see a little bit wayward on the exit there, so we go defensive against Sainz on the next left-hander through Pouon just to make sure he doesn't close up. But the tyres are screaming out a little bit there. I think I tortured them a little bit too much on that attempt on my overtake attempt on Giovinazzi, as I'm going a little bit wide there and wayward, so maybe having to cool down the internal carcass temperature and then try and go again. But at the moment I have no time to cool them down because Sainz just comes back at me now. We try a switchback move on him through the bus stop and it works out beautifully. Look at that better exit there on the left hand side, and so once again we're going to be just about up into second place. We squeeze him on the right, but he's got the nose in. The Audi obviously faster, corner. So we go for a second switchback, now abusing them to hell. And now on the right-hand side, Sainz will give us a good old squeeze on the right there. Nearly hit the wall, and up the hill we're going to have to lift off and just about give him the room to work with there. But such fine margins. Literally, you could have fit a piece of paper between my front nose cone and Sainz's gearbox there up the hill. And so we go again up into P2. So we're losing touch of Giovinazzi, unfortunately, but this is becoming a fantastic battle with one of our oldest rivals in MyDriver, really. Obviously, Carlos Sainz have had plenty of battles with him for many championships in MyDriver career. And it looks like the battles continue on in Season 9. Meanwhile, we've got Gasly ahead of Perez now for P4, and then Vettel trying to close up. I would assume by the end of this race, that might get quite close and might be a photo finish between those three, knowing the pace that Vettel had in Stint 1. Then you've got Ricciardo ahead of Van Dorn. Then it's Leclerc, who's managed to get ahead of both Haskars and the BMW of Jack Aitken there. You can see Aitken behind Verline, and then you've got Russell ahead of Norris. And then behind them, I believe, is still going on a battle between Albon and Verstappen. But look at this, Aitken down the inside, and he's got the move on the Porsche car. So Aitken making some moves and showing the BMW. It's not just Perez. The BMW just has some very good pace around Belgium. You know, very drag efficient, it would seem. And so he's making some good headway there. Now it's Norris v Verline. So Verline's fallen back in this race. So I don't know. Looks like, you know, the Porsche cars qualified really well, but it seems like they've lost their race pace, really, because look at that. Albon now, he's overtaken Verstappen, and now Albon's coming through to overtake Norris on the left-hand side, and he might actually go on to overtake Verline as well. So now it's time for Albon's time to shine and show what he can do in the Jaguar car. He obviously showed what he could do beforehand at the German Grand Prix with a great result there, but here he goes. It's 3 wide, and is he going to make the move? Yes, he is! Round the outside. He's actually done it. He's done it. He's hit Leclerc, I think, or Russell that was. I can't quite tell. Yeah, it's Russell, sorry. He's hit Russell, and there was some contact made, but Albon nonetheless is still now going round that side of Verline to make, what is that, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 overtakes in the span of like a lap or so, 4 overtakes in a lap. Absolutely stunning stuff there from the debutant this season in the Jaguar car, showing the Jaguar has the pace. Clearly, Verline comes back at him though. Can he pull this through and show some defensive prowess as well, and then go on to chase after Jack Aitken, who's got away from this entire pack. Albon on the right, still Verline on the left. They're still side by side. Meanwhile, Verstappen now is on the back of George Russell, and Russell does have damage, so there was some contact made in that collision at the Kemmel Straight, and so it's going to be Verstappen v Russell, the two former teammates from Mercedes earlier on this season. So that'll be very interesting to see. We're back to our POV though, lap number 17, and it's a familiar sight. Sainz getting past us in a straight line, but we'll be patient and we'll come back at him in the exact same part of the circuit on the very next 2 laps. On lap number 19 this is. We're closing up, and we're now neck and neck with Sainz into the brake zone, the end of Kemmel Straight. Easy does it on the throttle, trying to give him the space, but also get down onto the inside, squeeze him out on the next right-hander, and we're back up into P2. And whilst we're doing that, we are actually closing up to Giovinazzi. So me and Sainz, even though we're battling, we are pushing each other to close up to the Italian. So maybe there's still a last bit of racing to do for the race lead. Meanwhile, Van Dorn and Ricciardo, well, once again, they're just stuck at the hip, and they're still going at it as Ricciardo tries to defend from Van Dorn through the S section in Sector 3, and we cut on to a perfect timing of Vettel now down the inside of Sergio Perez. So this is the battle for P5 then, as Gasly, I believe, is still in P4. So Vettel now side by side with Perez through the entirety of that section, but Perez actually holds out there, but Vettel surely with the DRS will get Perez on the outside now to turn 1, but Perez has got obviously the better car in the corner, I guess, but the Audi not giving up, and on the exit, great acceleration as you would expect from the Audi car, and Vettel is up into P5. Yep, there we go, just about, and now he'll chase after Pierre Gasly. And speaking about Audis chasing after cars, here comes Carlos Sainz now on the second last lap of the Grand Prix, lap 21, and we're very close through Blanchimont. My right front tyre on his rear left tyre, that could have been very nasty, you know. One little twitch of the right-hand steering wheel, I could have sent him spinning there. But we're now going on to the last lap of this Grand Prix. It's come out so quickly here, the one-stop race, but the tyre wear, don't get fooled, it's so high. So it is a one-stop, but it probably could have been easily a two-stop for all of us. But all of us have been so stubborn with each other of wanting to make the one-stop work. But the tyre wear's been so high, so this is going to be interesting into this last lap. Do I have the tyre wear left for this? Do I have the ERS left for it as well? But look at those rear tyres, absolutely screaming out. But here we go, on the Kemmel Straight with DRS open. We've not got too much ERS to play with though, so as soon as we enter this next sector, I'm going to go down to none ERS and try and save ERS as much as I can, because I need as much as possible for that back straight. Because you saw there onto this lap how easily Sainz got past me. I can't let that happen, otherwise I will lose second place. So we're in none ERS. We're also saving fuel because we were in the negative as well. So everything to manage in the world in this cockpit of this McLaren at the moment on this last lap of the Grand Prix as we go down the hill towards Pouon, still in second. But look at that Sainz making a little lunge. That's how quick that Audi is in comparison with me trying to save ERS and fuel this stage, where it's going to be crucial for us to do that into this next sector. But Sainz is going for the move now, and we're side by side on the last lap through the last few corners of this sector, and we're just about keeping this ahead. But now this is the crucial point. This is what I've saved all the ERS for. So Antonio Giovinazzi looks like he'll get first place, but can we get second place in this GP? We're up into overtake mode. Rich mix. Sainz flies past us, but we're going to crucially have enough speed in a straight line to maybe get back at him. We're pushing him through that corner, bump drafting him. Can we make a dive to the inside there? Whole lap mode engaged through the corner. We're going to be side by side on the last corner of the last lap for P2 and P3, and we will just about get P2 in this Grand Prix, but Antonio Giovinazzi will win Red Bull's first race this season. It's his first race win in a long while. The last time he won was all the way back 2 seasons ago. It's season 7 at the 2021 Italian Grand Prix. Ironically, it is home race, for fair play, but his 6th race in his career, and he finally breaks the duck for Red Bull. So here then's a full race rundown. Very important to look through this, actually more so than other races, because we missed a lot of fighting because there was just so much going on. So Giovinazzi won the GP, like I said. For myself, Sainz in 3rd place, Gasly in P4. Vettel did get Perez for P5, but those two were going at it all the way to line. So as I went side by side with Sainz, Vettel and Perez also were side by side through the last few corners, and Vettel, as you can clearly see by the time standings, just about pipped Perez for P5 there. Van Dorn ahead of Ricciardo. Aitken with a brilliant P9 there, but just ahead of Alexander Albon. And like I said, it's close stuff in that entire pack, as Leclerc got P11, and then Max Verstappen narrowly, very narrowly, literally 7,000ths of a second gets ahead of Pascal Wehrlein. So I'm sure those two were side by side through the last few corners. Unfortunately, unable to capture any of that because the replays don't allow for that long of a capture, because I crossed the finish line at that point. But Verstappen just about got P12 and his first point of the season. That is crazy to say, considering he won a championship in this series in season 5. That he's only on a singular point after 5 rounds, but such is the competitive nature and the luck that he's got so far this season. Ahead of Wehrlein, it's a tough day for Porsche after upgrades for their car that clearly worked in qualifying. It didn't pay out in race play, so they're definitely going to want to tweak that for next time out and try and figure out what went wrong for them in the race. Ahead of then Callum Ilott. Fantastic Belgian Grand Prix. A lot of action there all the way. I mean, the first stint was crazy, like no room to breathe basically with how much stuff was going on. And what that means then for us in the championship, as we take the lead of the Drivers' Championship. So despite not winning a race so far this season, the consistency has paid out for us, and we lead just ahead of Antonio Giovinazzi in 2nd place. So like I said, it's surprised to see him being the lead Red Bull, but there you go. It's his time to shine. We've had plenty of battles with the Italian in previous seasons of MyDriver, so it's kind of great to see him now finally up there in a championship fight, as it were, in these early stages of the season. Then Sainz, Ricciardo, Leclerc, Vettel, Van Dorn, Russell, Perez, Gasly, Wehrlein, and then Alexander Albon. Teams-wise, we still lead the way in McLaren, 20 points ahead, although Audi do close up to us somewhat. But the big winners this weekend are Red Bull, moving all the way up into P3, where they belong pretty much from the start of the season, really, if we're honest. And I'm sure they'll be looking to try and close up against Audi and ourselves in P1 and P2. Jaguar P4, Mercedes down to P5 now, and just ahead of Ferrari. BMW Williams, though, making a great jump up to P7 to be ahead of Porsche. So Porsche, they're going to be kicking themselves, like I said. So that's going to be a battle brewing between the two German outfits of P8 and P9, and then Aston Martin and Red Bull to round it out. So guys, that's been another thrilling race in the F1 MyDriver Career Mode series. If you're enjoying this race and the entire series so far, guys, then be sure to smash the like button. Let me know what you thought in the comments below. I can't thank you guys enough for the support so far. It's also really important, guys, if you do enjoy this series, be sure to try and share it out on Twitter and Instagram or any social media you have to your friends and whatnot if you do enjoy it and want to support me. me, trying to get more eyeballs on this series as ever, because it takes a lot of work to put into this series. So I hope you guys can appreciate that and want to try and support me in that kind of way. But if you guys are new around here, then do subscribe for weekly full-on content. I've been aarava. Hope you guys enjoy today. I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.